Live to YouTube in. I guess it didn't give me a countdown anymore. I guess we're live now. Supposed to have a countdown before he just like opens the curtains and shows everybody what's going on. Hey everybody, welcome to this photo critique number 214. The title of this one is and was Negative Space, and there's a ton of really good. I hate the word submission. Uh, People shared a lot of really good images for us to look at this time. Like
Yeah.
submission and submit buttons. I don't know if that word rubs me the wrong way. What have you been up to, Troy? What's happening down there in Southern California?
Well, I'm just getting over a cold. I had a cold for like 3 days that just kind of kicked my butt, but it's nice and warm. The weather is super nice, so I'm working in the yard, landscaping and building my outdoor photography set. So,
Nice,
yeah,
nice. All right.
yeah,
Yeah,
very
so
excited.
so wait, so this is for like you bring clients over and you can do the sort like what like a gazebo type thing or just an arch with a bunch of flowers on it that you're gonna put some Vaseline on the lens to blur out. Like what are you doing?
No, I mean you've been here, so the backyard is pretty well landscaped as it is. What I'm doing is I'm just elevating it to cleaning things up. Like I'm building a whole new fence, 500 linear feet of fence, and I'm redoing like a lot of the planters and some of the plants, and I'm gonna add lavender and sunflowers and things that fit, but I can photograph more more appropriately than just what I have now. So.
Yeah, very cool. So I'm taking this as a sign that you are never moving, right? You are you're there, you're
Well,
there, you're gonna retire in that house, Troy. Just just accept it.
I do. It is quite paradisical back here sometimes. So,
Paradisical or paradoxical? One of those, right?
well,
No, it
it's
is.
paradise-like.
It is. It is. It is very nice back there. It is. It is resort like. That's what it is. It's very resort. You have a resort in your
Okay,
backyard. All right. Let's dive into these images because we have quite a few to go through. You ready to do this?
I am, and I think it's fair to tell everybody that we have a severe delay, don't we? Like
Yeah.
we're trying to.
Yeah, I don't know what's causing it, but yeah, we do. We have a delay. Almost, it's not quite, but almost to the level where I feel like I need to say over after every sentence I say. So it's not quite there. It's just know that with if there's a delay in Troy responding to what I said or vice versa, it's not because we're like dense or something. So- or maybe a little bit.
I
I
mean,
don't
that
know.
could be part of it too. I mean,
Yeah. All right, here we go. Sharing the screen here. We are inside of the TWiP community in the events area. This is Photo Critique 214, Negative Space. As I said, I'm going to go ahead and reload the page to make sure that we get any last minute stragglers in the flow. And first up, looks like, is our friend Mr. Craig Stampley. He captions this one Room for Text. Nice. All right, so I'm interested in
wow,
your thoughts
wow.
on this because remember the whole point of this exercise was to use negative space as a compositional element in the final photograph. So that's what we're that's aside from the technical and aesthetic pleasingness of the photo, we're also looking for that element, right? So what do you think? Did he succeed in using negative space here?
Uh, Absolutely. I think this is fantastic. I mean, this falls really into like Craig's wheelhouse for one. I mean, this is what he's so good at are these landscapes and these artistic nudes and things. Um, one thing that catches me right away are the layer of tones. You've got that little light at the top, it's a little darker at the top, and then lighter, and the dark water, and then the lighter skin tone. So we got these really wonderful layers, but what makes this really powerful is that negative space because it really puts the model in the space properly and kind of gives us a sense of scale and mood and emotion. It feels like I'm at the beach, right? Because I
Yeah.
have all this open sky, and yeah, it's really solid.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. When I'm looking at this shot, I agree with everything you said, by the way. But the one thing that I'm looking at that draws my attention, I don't know if you can see it on your side or if it's just me, but her sort of this area right here that I don't know if you can see my cursor. This area right here looks almost like it was selected and blurred or something, or is it just the light and that's the way the light is hitting it, or does she have some sort of bodysuit on? I don't know. Can you see that on your side, Troy? Just this area right here.
Yeah, and I think what we're seeing there is the reflection of the water coming up on her skin. So we're getting a little bit of
Mm.
that specular highlight, which is that sort of weird, distorted look. I think that's what we're seeing there. And I mean, you could easily tune that up, but it's not offensive.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And as far as this kind of playing into the topic, negative space, yeah, 100% agree. And I like his tongue in cheek caption for this, room left for text. Yeah. So you could put, pretty much anything on here. And then as an aside, as far as nude boudoir or erotic, whatever, whatever label you want to put on the flavor of photograph, this one or this type is the one that I like the most, where it is
Yeah.
suggestive but not explicit. I think
Right.
it takes skill to pull that off in a natural way, so that you're not like, she's obviously hiding something. This looks like a very natural pose, and it looks like she could have plausibly been skinny dipping and just laid on the beach for a minute, to think about and ponder life, right? Versus I'm up here and I know
Right.
people are looking at me, therefore I need to be modest or whatever. So no, I like it. Really good on all
Right.
cylinders.
Right. And then to sort of lean back into that question you had about that particular area of her body, her right hip,
Yeah.
there is, aside from that reflection, there is something else going on there. It looks over smooth,
Mm-hmm.
and like there's been some dodging and burning going on in there. Like maybe he removed a bikini line, or
Mm-hmm.
there's something not right. Like you're absolutely right. I zoomed in on that, and yeah, you're right. There's something going on there.
Yeah, Craig, reveal yourself and let us know what you did there, because I'm guessing maybe there was a tattoo or something there that he wanted to get rid of, or a bikini, and so he wanted to really sell it that she's nude on the beach. So he wanted to remove the bikini bottom or something. I don't know, but let us know,
Something.
because
Yeah.
we see you, Craig Stampley. We see you. All
Calling
right,
you
well,
out.
calling you out, man. You calling you out. All right. Next up is Karen Sweeney. Karen says, great spotted woodpecker about to take off. Left some negative space for it to fly into. Yeah. Excellent. What do you think?
So good. This
Mm-hmm.
is so good. So, I mean, this is one of my favorite shots. That smooth green space is just fantastic. This should be the new like postcard for the nature, area that she's photographing these things at, right? Like this
Yeah.
needs to be their new background for everything. This is so nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. This looks like it's designed to be a 2-page spread in a magazine, right? Because, the split down the
Right.
middle would be the binding. On the right side is the illustration. Like she said, looking back over to whatever copy or graphical elements are neatly placed over the green. Even the title of it, the headline, or whatever copy that goes up here at the top could be pulled from colors from within the bird itself. And yeah, it works really well. And then she's got the key line on there too. Looks like she pulled some color from within the image to color that key line around that thick border. What do you think of that? Good implementation.
Yeah, I love that. And even aside from commercial use for this image, which I totally agree with you, this artistically, I think the negative space plays really, really well because I can see the bird flying onto that space. The green makes me think about forest and open space. So this has so many possibilities from commercial, double spread type to just a piece of art just like this. I think it's super cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
really
yeah,
good.
really well done. really well done. And of course, the technicalities of it are the bird is in sharp, tight focus. Looks like the eye is spot on,
Mm-hmm.
and compositionally, yeah, the bird looking back into the space while cropped off to the or positioned off to the right of the frame, I think is the right move. So really cool. Thank you, Karen.
Right.
It's fantastic.
And I think the holy grail for a shot like this would be to actually have the bird on the edge of the tree leaning into the green space, right? Maybe that's
Mm-hmm.
something to think about as you're shooting. If you can get a shot like that, instead of the bird being isolated against the tree, maybe you can sometime get it isolated against the green background. And
Mm-hmm.
that would just be even better.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Nice. All right, Karen Sweeney, thank you very much
Awesome.
for
Well
that.
done.
All right, who's next? Paulo Bosetti's up next. He says handshake in 3, 2, 1. He shot this with his Fujifilm X100V with the 28 millimeter equivalent wide angle converter, manual exposure 5.6 at 1,000th of a second. Let's take a look. There you go, Paulo and his street photography. I love it.
Yeah, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. I'm wondering. I'm just kind of zooming in on this a little bit. The negative space that this lady is walking into is just so powerful in that we don't know where she's going. It could be mysterious. It could be scary. It could be
Mm-hmm.
anything, right?
Yeah.
And to me, the fact that she's walking to the left feels like she's coming back from somewhere. And so, this is kind of like a returning image from a trip or something. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, first thing I thought, yeah, I agree with you because you look off to the left and there's that abyss that she's so brightly lit, and then we've got that element, that strip of light that shows that this is a relatively active scene because we've got the other humans kind of walking off frame. She's going the opposite direction with her hand extended into the abyss, and I don't know where my brain goes, but I was thinking the Grim Reaper's in that abyss, and she's gonna shake hands with the Grim Reaper. This is it. This is the last day or something. But no, really, really cool shot. What do you think of the color? Does color add to this, Troy, or would he have been better served to drop the color out of this one?
Um, I think color works really well because we don't have a lot of background elements. So I think that the color makes her pop. Me, I love black and white, so I would always play with black and white anyway, just to kind of remove any color distractions, like the color of her sweater or the color of the strap on her purse. But I do also want to point out, I think that it's wonderful timing that the subject matter is directly under the arch behind
Mm-hmm.
her,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so we don't have anything coming like out of the top of her head or cutting through her head. Like, she's quietly framed inside that arch, and that's a really wonderful element as well. So kudos to Paulo for getting that timing.
Yeah, I agree with that. And this one, subtly is very similar to the image before this one, Kieran's bird image, right? We've got our subject
Hmm.
positioned kind of off to the right and aiming or moving into the left side of the frame, which is relatively blank, right? So very, very similar idea, different organisms in the shot though. So I like it.
Yeah, super cool.
All right. Up next is Tim Ingle. No caption. Let's take a look. Yeah, Tim is playing with colors lately. Look at that. Look at that purple blues, fuchsia, reddish, and then our subject in the lower kind of half. That's really interesting to have a composition like this because we very rarely see portraits. This is a portrait. It looks like it's a portrait, but we very rarely see them positioned like this. In fact, for amateurs, this would probably be considered a mistake. But for a pro, it looks like it works, and he's using it using the negative space as a compositional element, presumably for some text up there or for some other graphical elements. And it's obvious that he's using that blank or negative space at the top as a compositional element because of the color choices, right? We've got that blue purplish up there and then the red down at the bottom. So it does appear intentional when you look at it versus some randomness above the subject or white or something, which would have made it feel less intentional. I don't know. What do you think?
I love the image. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Tim's work. I mean, Tim always is so creative and inventive, and I love the duotone that we have going on in here from the blue, to the red. I would love to see a heavier gradient come down across the top because I feel like if the top was darker and then it opened up a little bit to her, I feel like it would put more pressure on her, and to me would be more moodful. The one thing that I've got to be fair about is that I don't like that hand off to the right, because to me it feels like there's two subjects in this, her and the hand,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't know that it's her hand. It's not connected to her. It feels disconnected from her. So that just really bothers me. It feels like a completely disconnected subject.
It's
So, and
cousin it
maybe,
photobombing.
well, I mean, yeah, I don't see her elbow. I mean, if her hand had been brought in, maybe she was laying on both arms a little bit, I would feel, more comfortable with that. Her right shoulder feels a little lifted and kind of hunched, like it's bigger or as big as her face. So I'm not quite vibing with the whole body pose, her right shoulder, the disconnected hand. I feel like the bench or the seat she's sitting on is probably too high, so she's got to lean over too far. I love her face there. I love the negative space. I love all that, but the the body language is kind of disconcerting to me.
So you would have maybe brought that shoulder, changed the pose to be a little bit less hunched over, and maybe brought that her right hand in with the left hand, so she's kind of like resting on both hands versus just the one.
Yeah, I mean, something like if her right hand had come into the frame much further so that we could actually see her wrist, then the sleeve begins, so we know that it's attached to her, right? And so it's not like severed right at the edge, right at the wrist, and feel completely disconnected from her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, Tim is a master at what he does, and he doesn't do things by accident. So there's a good chance that this is exactly what he was going for.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
for me, those are elements in here that kind of that I just don't vibe with as well.
yeah, and that's helpful. Cool. Very cool. All right, Tim Ingle. Thank you, sir. And folks that are watching this, either now or in the future, please remember to like and subscribe to this video so that we can feed the YouTube algorithm and get more eyes on our stuff and get more exposure for the TWiP community. All right, coming up next is Peter Levshin. No caption on this one. Wow. Okay. What is this? Is this in Australia? What is this?
I don't know where this is. Um, Most likely it's infrared because Peter sees an
Yeah.
infrared.
Yeah, yeah. It does have that infrared feel to it, kind of, and that little halo around the whatever these spiky structures are on this building. Yeah, it does feel infrared. I'm seeing some banding in the sky though. You see that? Are you seeing that, or is that?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking at on the image itself, not in the stream.
Yeah, I am seeing that as well. I love the image. I mean, I love the architecture and I love what's going on in here, and sort of the shapes and the forms that are in here. What I'm not really loving is the fact that it's equally bisected. So the upper half is almost exactly the same as the lower half, and I don't really see that that's working well. I would have cropped this off just above the curved arch at the bottom, so that we only had these pseudo vertical spikes and then more sky in the corner. I feel like that lower, I don't know, half right to that curved area. I don't think we need that. I think it'd become much more powerful without that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you? What about the just the negative space implementation overall? Do you feel like aside from the composition and bisecting or diagonally bisecting the image, the is the negative space helping in the composition of this shot at all, or is it more of a supporting character? What do you think?
I think right now the way that it's set, that it's just kind of there. I don't think that it has a lot of, it's not powerful. It doesn't really make it better. I think that if we maximize the negative space and we minimize the structure, then I think the negative space becomes a hero and the structure becomes like the supporting character to the overall image. And, let's say this is an airport, which I think somebody in the comments, La Duderina said it has an airport vibe. Then that story is better for me, right? Like these are
Mm-hmm.
the tails of the airplanes, the sky is the hero. So that's where I would
Yeah.
go with it. I would lean into that crop.
Yeah. Maybe even a contrasty, almost white aircraft in the black abyss up here would sell it too. If this was in fact an airport, having a little tiny
Right.
plane up here would sell it too.
It's
That's cool.
actually, I just zoomed in. It's funny. It's actually buildings. Those are office buildings in the back. If you zoom in, you can actually see the windows, but
Oh yeah.
it's shaped like the tail of a plane. That's kind of cool.
That is cool. Perspective. Perspective.
Yeah.
Good job, Peter. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was Peter. All
That
right.
was Peter.
Who is up next? Michael Rhino. Let's take a look. What is happening here? Are those clouds on the horizon, or is that a fire or a dust storm in Colorado of some sort? Like, what's happening there?
Those are clouds. Yeah, those are definitely clouds. And I'm feeling like those clouds are a little over processed, but they could be stormy clouds full of contrast and stuff. So
Mhm. This is
yeah,
infrared as well, right?
I love the image.
Or
Yeah,
is it?
yeah,
Are you
this is
sure?
definitely
Huh? Because
no,
is when I
yeah, I'm
say
pretty sure.
I'm saying, are you sure? Because I'm looking at this tree here, but I guess depending on the amount of chlorophyll in the tree, it's going to reflect or not reflect, right? So this is probably a tree that's dormant or has very little chlorophyll in it when this photo was taken, right? Or am I getting that right?
Not
Because
nec-
I don't shoot infrared, so I'm guessing.
no, not necessarily. So like oak trees, they don't actually glow very much under infrared because the leaves are so dense and waxy that the light never like reflects or refracts out of the leaf where you might get like out of a conifer like a pine tree where the needles themselves are pseudo translucent. So it really just comes down to the type of tree that it is. I mean, this could be something that's just, you know, not sharing a bunch of the light, but the use of negative space is really nice here. Really
Hmm.
nice.
Yeah, yeah, I love
Because it
that. I
gives
like
you a sense of scale with the tree.
it. Does it does? Yeah, because without that tree, I mean, a tree is obviously a compositional element. There are only what one, two, three, four elements in this shot, and without the tree, yeah, it just would not be the same in many ways. But it would be interesting with the cloud structure back there, because then we'd have three elements. We'd have the sky or the distant clouds, these close up clouds, and then the foreground element. But the tree in there, literally plants you on the horizon, and the way he's cropped it, it's right on that horizon line. So yeah, I think it's gorgeous. It's really interesting. It makes you think, even if we weren't having this conversation, it makes you look at it and kind of like, okay, what's going on here? Like I said at the outset, like what's happening with these clouds? Is that a fire? Is that a dust storm? What's happening? So it gives you that level of interest. It looks like those clouds are moving towards that tree and about to consume it, like an amoeba or something.
Right, right. No, the layers in here are really wonderful, and even though the clouds have texture, I kind of see that tying into the sky above the clouds as negative space as
Yeah.
opposed to the tree itself. So this is incredibly plenty good use of negative space. That's probably a better way to say it.
Yeah. Okay. So then outside of the photo, so Michael has chosen to do kind of an intricate uh, border pattern on this. So we've got a key line around the image itself, and then we've got another key line kind of almost, I don't know, it's not centered on the gray border, but it's going around there. So what do you think of that? Is that too much? Is it good? Not enough?
I So, to each his own, right, when it comes to these things. But I think
Mhm.
that anytime you try to be clever and reinvent the border, I think you break it. And I'm a huge fan of a simple key line and a simple dark background. If you're going to enter it in competition, this key line, you're going to get judges looking at it to make sure that the spacing is correct and the density is correct. And just drop that second key line, make that background black. It'll highlight that tree, and everything will be perfect. My opinion, of course. I mean, to be fair.
Yeah, I think it's valid. And what is the purpose of the key line in the border, right? It is in all of those little things are in service of the image. So if judges or just the viewer get lost in the intricacies of the border and like, oh wow, that's a great border, you're taking time away from the image, the image itself. So yeah, like you said, is all of this, everything we say and photography overall is completely subjective. So take everything with a healthy grain of salt. But I agree with what you said, and less is more, I think, with border treatments for sure.
Right. Especially in competition, anything you can do that doesn't attract the attention of a judge, that's not your image, is best.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's like misdirection. Like, why are you wearing all that makeup? Right. What are you trying to hide?
I'm a rock star.
Exactly. A kiss. Why you got all that makeup on, Gene Simmons? What's happening? All right. So moving down to Phil Lewinthal. He says, shh, sorry about the white mat. LOL. Oh, interesting. Oh, okay. Yeah. White mat on white background. So let's go back and see. That's what the image looks like.
Yeah.
Right. But when we blow it up, the circle.so shows it on white. So it disappears.
Now, I've seen these images done before with a white mat, but the very, very, very outside edge of the white mat, you put another black key line. So that can be kind of cool. Something to play with.
Cool.
What do you think of this image? Yeah, what a great use of space. I mean, we've seen a lot of Phil's images, and I love his style of work. And sometimes they're really busy, and there's a lot of chaos and stuff going on. This one feels very calm and very peaceful. And I think because of the use of that negative space that he's done in there, and he's brought the islands, right? We know they're rocks and sea palms, but if he brings those more in the foreground, I feel like it's kind of a quiet, moment, for that. So I dig it.
Yeah, me too. I love Phil's work. And I love how, using his patented lens and neutral density filter combination, he's able to sort of compress these in and create this art. When I looked at this one, I was thinking, it immediately struck me as sad, right? Because these sea palms look like they've seen better days, So I was thinking, you could have titled this one "Sea Palm Retirement Island" or something, or Florida Keys for key palms or something for these sea palms. But I love them. Go ahead.
Oh, but the thing is that we know that they're sea palms. Only we know that, right? Like most people would think this is like a mountain or a rock, in the hills covered with clouds, and those are some kind of like nobody know. Most people are never going to know this is shot as a long exposure in the ocean, and those things are only like 12 inches tall.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yeah. Otherwise, it looks like it could be any. Like if you look at those and you look at those sea palms and you're like, okay, those are palm trees, which gives you a different sense of scale of what you're looking at. Now it looks like an island that just got hammered by some storm, and this is the aftermath. But yeah, I like it. Very good. Phil in the chat says, would you say life is difficult? That would have been a good title for this. Yeah, for sure. Or assisted living. Yes, yeah. I like life is difficult better for this one. All right.
Good job.
Coming up next is Amy Brooks. And no caption on this one. Let's take a look. All right. So we got a leaf trapped in the snow or sitting, a dead leaf in the snow. So, yeah, and I like the composition. So we've got our, she's on the intersection of the lower left rule of third intersection there. A uniform pattern throughout. Looks like she's perpendicular to the ground. So everything is roughly the same size on that background. And we've got our pattern interrupted with the dead leaf sitting there and kind of telling the story. And a kind of a heavy key line around the edge or a back or border around the edge, considering the image itself is high key. For me, it feels a little stark to jump all the way to black after being kind of lulled into this pattern of high key, and then we're like just boom trapped in there. Or maybe that's intentional. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Troy?
I like it. No, I like. I think that's. I think it's nice. I think it's a bold move to put that heavy key line on there. I mean, I absolutely agree. But I love the fact that it's a way for the artist to stay. Look, I want you to stay inside this line. I don't want you leaving. You know,
Yeah.
and I like that a lot. I love this image. I mean, this is one of those very simple, serene. We all know what it is, but we all have our own story that we can apply to this. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge fan of the sound of snow when it's falling, the quietness, and then when you walk on it. I love that sound. It's like one of my
The
favorite sounds
crunch.
in the world. So
The
I look at
crunch. Yeah.
this. Yeah, I look at this and I think about like how far did you have to go, you know, and so and then of course, you know, the leaf at the end of its existence, and you know, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of storytelling elements in here.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it does definitely tell a story, and I could see this as part of an overall series, right? Shot in a very similar way, but different objects in the intersections of rule of thirds on the image. That could be really cool. Kind of
Oh
illustrating
right,
the
yeah.
first snowfall. Other things that fall in the snow, and then presented in a triptych or more kind of presentation blown up big on the wall. That'd be really interesting.
Right. I'm always attracted to these type of elements. I mean, I think I posted an image I don't know, a week or so ago of that piece of grass with the shadow. Or I think it was like 2 weeks ago.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm always looking for these isolated, solitary elements. So I like it. I like where it's going.
Yeah, really nice. Very nice. All right. Now it's Amy Brooks. Lovely. All right. Coming up next is Nora's Natness. Let's take a look. Look at that. See? I love that the portraiture with our subject kind of leaning in, and this was interesting because there's like this wall that anchors our subject to the left side of the frame, so they're not floating. And then we've got this abyss that she's kind of staring into longingly, and we were wondering, what is she thinking about? Is she thinking happy thoughts, sad thoughts, nothing thoughts? Yeah, it's kind of left up to us to guess what she's thinking about in the what's happening over on this side of the frame. I'm taken out of it a little bit looking at this. See this line right here at the top? I'm not sure what that is. And I don't know. I'm curious what you'd say about this, Troy. Should, like, on a shot like this where there is a little bit of detail in the background and we can't make out what that detail is, should the artist just go completely black and obscure all that, or should they reveal some of the background so that the viewer has some anchoring as to what's happening in that abyss behind them? If they're going to show a little bit, should they show more so that we have more information? What do you think?
That's a tough question. I think that for me, the way that I decide is if the details that I'm going to show aren't recognizable, then I would take them out. So, for example, like in Paulo's image, it was easy to be able to recognize there were like door numbers above the arches, there were people. So that's great. If it's going to be something where it's just weird lines or muddy shapes, I would say take them out. One of the things to be very cautious of is that when you're cloning out black areas, like dark areas, sometimes it's not always absolute black. And so you think you're cloning out a dark area, and then something that's slightly less contrasty looks at it and you can see all of your clone marks. So you need to be super careful of that. I love the image. I love what you're doing here, Nora. But I can also see where you've tried to lighten this girl's face and lift the shadows like in her hair and above her hair, and you've created some weird graying artifacts.
Mm-hmm.
What I would suggest is that you absolutely lean into the high contrast that this image probably has, bring the highlights down so they're properly exposed, and obscure her face. Let her face nearly disappear in the shadows, right? Don't try to lift to create a portrait. Let it go dark. Let it be mysterious. Let that light on her face actually be the portrait light. And then the negative space becomes even more powerful. It's like it's consuming her, or she's revealing herself. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we make it more mysterious. Yep. And I don't know if I think it's coming through the dodging and burning area that we could, like you mentioned up here. I think it's coming through on the stream.
Right.
But folks in the community, you can look at these images as we're seeing them inside of the event for this one. You'll see what we're talking about there.
Right. So often, people create images and they feel like, oh, I need to lighten the shadows on this person so I can see their face or I can see more detail. And in reality, go the opposite. Lean into the contrast, lean into the drama, lean into all of that, and just work with it. Let the light, work where it is, and let the shadows work where they are. You saw it and you shot it, and I think it's a hero just the way it is.
Yeah. Yep. Very nice. Thank you, Nora. All right.
Bravo.
Some more comments. Who's up next? Eric Bronsky. Small chapel on a hill in Bavaria next to Munich. Is there too much detail in the clouds for it to be considered negative space? I don't think so. Look at that. That looks it looks almost like a diorama that someone built or painted or something. Or I almost expect to see some claymation stop action creature come out of that door. Yeah, I like this. I love the symmetry.
This is one of my favorite images. I think that in this particular image, because of the clouds, it being in that negative space, right? Negative space doesn't mean that it can't have any kind of details in it. It's just space by itself. I think it's really giving you scale, and I love the balance of this hill with what appears to be a very tiny house with these wonderful trees, sort of just wrapping around it. It just so much about this image just works, and it works because of that negative space. If you cropped it off above the trees, it doesn't have the scale. You need that negative space for this to work. So well done.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I totally agree. I love this. This is probably one of my favorites as well, because my brain goes in so many different directions, like what could be in that sky, or nothing at all. And it looks miniature. It looks almost like an isometric kind of view at like I said, a little miniature diorama or something that someone built. So yeah, it has so many possibilities. And this is so... you look for stories in these images, and instantly I see a story. There's some person living in this little house alone. They've been there forever. Maybe they have a dog. It almost looks like the Up house too. The house from Up, the movie Up. Put some balloons on there up in the sky there, and you're good to go. Cool, love it. Yeah, Phil says exactly. The Little Prince house. Yep, for sure. All right. Thank you, Eric Bronsky. Coming up. No, we can skip that one. Okay, let's go on with it. No. Troy Miller has one in here. Troy says, Queen of Her Day. This is from a wedding I shot many years ago. Carmen and Daniel. I recently did a family shoot for them and their 2 kids. I always enjoy seeing my couples build their families and getting to be a part of that. Let's take a look.
Yeah, that's super
Yeah,
cool.
that's gorgeous. That is gorgeous. Take us through this shot, man. How'd you put it together? What were you thinking?
Um, speaking of negative space, I mean, this is one of those kind of shots where I really wanted the sense that the bride was coming into her future. So that's why she's moving from left to right with negative space behind her. When you travel from left to right, at least in my mind, that's like moving forward. So
Mm-hmm.
it was very intentional for me to put her there because I wanted to feel like she's looking at her future. Um, and shooting low gives her more grandeur, and letting all that space be around her just lets her kind of like stand out, right, like the diamond. So it's just one of my favorite shots, and I think we spent 5 minutes on this on the wedding day. um
Wow. Yeah.
immediately to our right is my truck and a dirt field, and you know um this place no longer exists. Now it's all covered in houses. So
Wow.
super
How
fun.
much? How much post processing time to get this shot from raw file to ready for client to see?
Almost none. I mean, this is almost straight out of camera. Yeah, this
Wow.
is maybe a little contrast and saturation, stuff like that, color balance. But
When
I
was
mean, this
this?
is out
When
of
when did
camera.
when did you shoot this? Recently or years ago?
Oh, this has been years ago. Yeah, I mean, they've got like two kids, and I don't know. Margie knows exactly 5, 8 years,
So
maybe not
then,
that long,
so
but
if I'm counting the rings on the tree right, that means you shot this with a Sony. You shot this with a Sony
no,
camera? No, not
never,
Nikon. Was it a Nikon?
no. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
probably a D3 or a D4.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were a turncoat. You switched.
No, only shot infrared on Sony.
Ah, very cool. All right. I think that's it. Let me just reload one more time to make sure we got everyone in here. Yeah, 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 yeah. Show more and Troy. Yeah, yeah, that's it. All right. So, do you have a favorite of the bunch?
This is hard. This is harder than normal. A lot of times I have something that really speaks to me, and I feel like this is the one. This is the one. I don't know. I'm gonna need some help from you, because here's my thinking. I love Craig's. I think that it has an incredible use for his fine art nude and negative space, and I love all that toning. My next favorite is really Nora's, um, because I just love that mood so much.
Where
You
was
know,
Nora's?
I
Oh, that one.
yeah, I do. I mean, maybe because I'm a wedding portrait person, right? So seeing the person in there to me is just really powerful. So I really like that a lot. I'm struggling. I don't know. I think you need to pick.
Oh, are you gonna put it to me? Like I'm the tiebreaker here. Yeah, I agree. I like those two, but I think Eric's is my favorite of all of them though. Mainly because of
Okay.
it's miniature. I mean, the negative space at the top, and it feels almost storybook-ish, with the fence around the little house structure and the symmetry of the houses, and then we've got that expanse of negative space above, which adds to the appearance that this is a tiny little house because of all the sky that he's included in there, which sky is his negative space compositional element. So I don't know. So if you're
I
leaving it to me,
agree.
I'm picking this one. I like this one. This one speaks to me the most. So,
No, I agree. No, and it was a test. I wanted to see if you'd pick the right one.
okay. Yeah, sure. But cool. Then thank you everybody for submitting. These are, nobody's a loser, obviously, with these kind of contests, because everything is completely subjective and we're just giving our opinions and hopefully some constructive criticism on the photos. But yeah, this is good. What a great crop. Congratulations, everybody. Really good shots.
Yep.
And congratulations, Dr. Bronsky, for sharing this week's favorite. Thank you very much. Congrats. And he just joined late. Look at him joining late and taking the favorite. Look at that. Look at him. Look at him with a flourish like James Brown. So, Troy, who's next? So we've got our next critique is coming up on the 22nd of this month, 5/22. What are your thoughts as far as our topic for 5/22? I need Jeopardy music.
What about open? Are we ready for open? I think we're ready for an open category.
You think we're ready for open? Okay, we can do open.
Yeah, I mean, we did shadows, we did negative space. I don't remember what we did before that. But everybody, I mean, the kids have done such a good job fulfilling the criteria. I think that they deserve a day off.
Spring break open. So let me pile on to that open. So normally when we say open, we say you can, just submit whatever you want. Obviously, that's the definition of open. I'm going to put some rails on this one though, and release some rails. So we're going to do open, but the image that you submit must be a fresh image. And when I say fresh, you maybe not shot specifically for this critique, but let's call it shot within the year of 2023, right? So shot in the, if you're watching this later, that means this year. So your image has to have been shot this year, but it can be anything. And I'll expand it to include so that Mark Charette can play or anything, including 360 or video clips or cinemagraphs or let's even throw AI in there. So if you want to throw some AI images that you created, feel free, put those in there and we'll critique them accordingly. Just be sure to flag that they are AI and don't try to pass them off as I'm trying to avoid saying real photography, but real photography. Don't try to pass them off as real photography. Let us know that they are AI if you choose to shoot or submit an AI image. But let's go, as long as you create it in 2023, submit whatever you want in across genres, across mediums, all that stuff. And let's have fun with it. Let's see what you guys come up with. Should be interesting.
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, fun. Okay, and that'll be for 5/22. So you got a solid 2 weeks to get that done, and we will, of course, be live streaming that. Rick Kilboy says, "Why not make it AI only?" Well, Rick, because not everyone likes AI, and I don't want to limit it.
Or has access to create.
Or has access, yeah, or he cares to learn how to use those tools. So I don't want to limit it to that. Maybe in the future we'll do AI only. We'll do some AI only experiments. But yeah, for this one, let's just treat it as another tool that you reach for in your box to tell the story that you want to tell. And compositing too, right. Renee, I'm looking at you, Renee Robin. If you want to composite stuff and put that in there, go ahead and throw it in there, and we'll critique accordingly, as if. All right, man. Any last words before we end the stream, Troy Miller?
Enjoy this wonderful weather. Go out and go, contact a friend. Go buy somebody a coffee or a tea or something. Go connect with people and just enjoy your day.
Yeah, I love it. Get out into the world. That's where I'm heading. And Troy, just for you, I think you were the one that turned me onto this. The idea that you can. You initially told me about this, and then Flickr added a whole category on Flickr just for this type of imagery, and that's shots that were taken from within video game worlds. So, which is another emerging genre of photography, these open world games that when you take a photo in there, it's your photo, right? So if you want to take a photo like that, you happen to own a PlayStation 5 or Xbox or something and a game that you can go in and screen capture and grab a photo like that, feel free. My experiment with this is to see what people generate. Like, equally valuable, we'll see if people just submit regular traditional photos, given the fact that you could submit whatever you want. If everyone or the majority of people just submit traditional photos, that's a data point. Or if people go wild and submit all kinds of stuff, that's also a data point. So it should be interesting. This will be a good show to watch. Agree. Yep. All right. We will leave it right there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we will see you here for this particular live stream in 2 weeks. And folks, if you are part of the TWiP community, be sure to join us on Fridays for our weekly member mixer, where we'll sometimes even chat about photography. But normally it's all kinds of other stuff that's happening in the world. All right, everybody, have a good week. Get out there, play with those cameras, and let's see what you come up with. And by the way, you don't need to wait until, till the 22nd for that critique, the open critique. If you want to share your fantastical creations in the community, please do share them and start conversations that way as well. Let's see us mix it up a little. All right, everybody, have a good week. Troy Miller, thank you so much for your co-critiquing, and see you all next time.